obstructed by giving state legislatures largely unchecked power to set all sorts of rules for federal elections and to draw congressional maps warped by partisan gerrymandering. The vote was 6-3, with Chief Justice John G. Roberts Jr. writing the majority opinion. The Constitution, he said, does not exempt state legislatures from the ordinary constraints imposed by state law. Vladimir Putin spoke for the first time today since a weekend rebellion in Russia. A powerful mercenary group carried out a short-lived revolt Saturday. It was the most serious challenge Russia's president has faced in 23 years of rule. Putin will allow Wagner Group fighters to move to Belarus, go home, or fight for Russia. He's trying to reassert control over a very shaken nation. And audio undercuts Trump's assertion that he did not have classified documents. A recording of a meeting in 2021 in which the former president described a sensitive document in front of him appears to contradict his recent assertion that the material was just news clippings. The next hearing in the case was scheduled yesterday for July 14th. The Justice Department investigation of efforts by Donald Trump and his advisors to overturn the 2020 election results is barreling forward on multiple tracks, with prosecutors focused on ads and fundraising pitches claiming election fraud, as well as plans for fake electors that would swing the election to the incumbent president. A key area of interest is the conduct of a handful of lawyers who sought to turn Trump's defeat into victory by trying to convince state, local, federal, and judicial authorities that Joe Biden's 2020 election win was illegitimate or tainted by fraud. Democrats on the Senate Homeland Security Committee today released a scathing report that detailed how the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, and other federal agencies repeatedly ignored, downplayed, or failed to share warnings of violence before the January 6, 2021 attack on the Capitol. Well, with 8 weeks until Fox News hosts the first Republican presidential primary debate in Milwaukee, executives at the Rupert Murdoch-owned network are scrambling to convince frontrunner Donald Trump to reverse his threat to boycott the event. Fox is trying to get Trump to say yes. They're offering him the world to show him that they can be trusted. And in researching the genealogies of America's political elite, a Reuters examination found that a fifth of members of Congress, Supreme Court justices, and governors are direct descendants of ancestors who enslaved Black people. They include some of the most influential politicians in America: Republican senators Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham, and Tom Cotton, and even Democrats, Elizabeth Warren, Tammy Duckworth, and Jeanne Sheehan. And get this, all living past presidents, and even including Joe Biden, are descendants of slaveholders. Now, this is all of those presidents except Donald J. Trump. Now, few of these leaders were willing to discuss their family ties to slavery. You are listening and watching Areva Martin in real time, and I'm your host, Areva Martin. This is your one-stop destination for today's trending news, expert analysis, and my unfiltered opinions. This is hour 2 of Areva Martin in real time, and in this hour, y'all know what we do. We go behind the headlines and we dig deep on those stories that everyone is talking about. And in this hour, we're talking about Black folks and the great outdoors. My guests today are on a mission to uncover untold stories, to reinvigorate Black Americans' love for the outdoors. Now, see, this is a part of a larger effort for current generations to reclaim our rightful place and sense of belonging in natural spaces. Now, we all know the history of Black folks in this country. We know that lynchings and racially motivated attacks against Blacks in the early 1900s occurred mostly in natural spaces, occurred outdoors, especially in the South. We've seen these horrible images of Black bodies hanging from nooses in trees. We've seen Black folks running, trying to escape the whip of the master who had enslaved not only that person who was trying to run away, but their entire family. Now, these attacks had a lasting effect on how African Americans engage with the outdoors. And if we layer on top of that systemic barriers such as socioeconomic status, layer on top of that access to transportation, and then Jim Crow laws, all of that added together has in many ways excluded Black folks from natural spaces. And when you think about it, some of America's national parks for years, and I do mean years, were off limits to Black travelers. Generations later, though, Black folks are outdoors and Black enthusiasts are spending time in nature. They're finding restoration and freedom. When we come forward, I'm going to talk to 3 of the African Americans who are leading this movement to help us reclaim our rightful place and sense of belonging in natural spaces. Stay with us. KBLA Talk 1580.
Is the pen mightier than the sword?
They say the pen is mightier than the sword. At KBLA Talk 1580, we not only have a lot to talk about, we have a lot to write about. Politics, relationships, business, empowerment, and culture. The all-star roster at KBLA Talk 1580 has you covered.
That's what it's all about.
Be sure to follow us on all our socials for our latest book releases, op-eds, essays, and commentaries from our hosts. And, of course, download the KBLA 1580 app as we strive to remain your most trusted, credible, and reliable source for the issues you care about. This is unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
What up, baby?
I'm young, gifted, and black. KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk.
Hey there, I'm Jared Hill, president of the National Association of Black Journalists of Los Angeles, and I just want to say thank you for the benevolent $10,000 donation in scholarships for the next generation of Black journalists.
And I'm Haywood Galbraith, photojournalist and founder of the Minority Photojournalism Institute. Thanks, KBLA, for your generous $10,000 scholarship gift to help us train the next generation of Black photojournalists.
Congratulations to all the students who will benefit from the scholarship dollars raised at our Black History Month luncheon, honoring Black legends in LA media. When we come forward at KBLA Talk 1580, we're bringing everybody with us. Everybody with us. Everybody with us. Everybody with us. Everybody with us.
Access granted.
In a survey conducted by the public opinion research firm Eviderus, KBLA Talk 1580 consistently emerged as the station of choice for Black audiences in the Los Angeles media market and beyond. The survey also revealed that the vast majority of Black audiences are concerned about the lack of Black-owned media and are more likely to listen to talk radio that focuses on issues that impact the Black community. For some reason, the other talk stations haven't quite figured that out.
If you think about KFI, well, KFI only has like a 3% Black listenership. 3%. So there's a good 97% out there to support a station like KBLA.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your Black. Your Black. Your Black.
Follow the leader.
KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram at KBLA 1580.
Follow the leader.
Are you ready?
The station leading the way with exclusive interviews,
Follow the leader.
stimulating conversation, and intellectual discourse that empowers, enlightens, and informs.
Follow the leader.
Follow the leader at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Keep following the leader.
Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
Gotta stay fresh, my house shot with a rest spot. Shot with a rest spot. Shot with a rest spot.
Have you visited us online for the grand opening of KBLA.store? For the best in new merch, gift ideas, books, media, and more, log on to
I'm back, and in this hour, I am talking to Black outdoors enthusiasts. Black folks are reclaiming our history and finding community by finding connection with nature. And this is happening across the country as Black folks are enjoying the great outdoors and forming communities around nature and outdoor activities. In this hour, I'm joined by Jessica Newton. She's the executive director and founder of Vibe Tribe Adventures. Also with us is Henri Rivers. He's the president, National Brotherhood of Skiers, and Toyin Aja, and you got to correct the pronunciation of your name for me. I apologize. She's the founder of Outdoorsy Black Women. Welcome, Jessica, Henri, and Toyin. So glad to have all of you with me in this hour. And I have a confession to make. I myself was not aware of the movement that's taking place over this country and how folks like the three of you and others are really creating these incredible communities, these outdoor communities with Black folks literally in all parts of the country. And I read this article about you guys in NBC News. I think I read another article on a couple of other news sites, and I got so excited about what I was reading. I told my producer, let's get them on. Because if I didn't know about it, and I read 1,200 newspapers a day, it feels like there must be so many other folks that don't know what you guys are up to. So let's just jump right in. Jessica, tell us about this outdoor community communities that are springing up all over the country, and why are they so important?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me today. I appreciate it. Currently, Vibe Tribe Adventures, we are an outdoor recreation adventure sports company that was really created to encourage the Black and Brown community to get outdoors and explore. And initially, I actually started out as a group called Black Girls Hike Global. And I had a lot of inquiries from men who were like, hey, I want to be a part of this outdoor space. And so we wanted to be more diverse in its activities. Hiking was limited. And then we wanted to be a nonprofit, so a service to the community. And so with that, I decided to turn it into a nonprofit, a 501c3 tax exemptions organization called Vibe Tribe Adventures. Black Girls Hike Global does operate, but right now a lot of my focus is here. And currently, we are supporting 12 adventure companies across the United States and including St. Thomas to help grow strategically Black and Brown adventure companies. And with that being said, we also have a youth program, and then we also just provide adventure activities for the community as well.
So give us some examples, Jessica, because when you use the word adventure, I'm thinking somebody out there may be thinking, oh my God, one, I'm not adventurous, or two, I'm not athletic, or, I've never been good with things that happen in nature. So people may be self-limiting themselves because they, maybe are overthinking it. But tell us, give us an example of some of the adventures that your company might engage in.
Yeah, so we do beginner things such as nature walks and educational clinics, teaching people how to pack their bags to go for a hike. And then we actually do zip lining and river rafting and scuba diving. So it has a range of beginner, intermediate, or advanced is our membership.
And let me let you jump in the conversation, Henri. You are the president of a National Brotherhood of Skiers. How many African-American skiers, if you know, are there in the country? How popular is skiing amongst Black folks?
Well, thank you very much again, Areva, for inviting us to your show. First of all, we changed our name back in 2022. We are no longer National Brotherhood of Skiers. We are now the National Brotherhood of Snow Sports.
Okay.
We changed that for, obvious reasons. We wanted to be more inclusive to our membership. You asked the question, how many Black skiers are there across the country, internationally? I do not have that number, but I can tell you there are more than the saying that Black people don't ski. There are many of us. There are thousands of us. Within the National Brotherhood of Snow Sports, we have over 12,000 members.
Wow.
And to add to that, those 12,000 members, they're not beginners. Okay, so they're not newbies coming out and just learning how to ski or ride, even though that is a huge push within our organization to extend winter outreach and bring in a lot of never-evers and very new skiers and riders.
So what's your background, Henri? Like, how did you get into this, and why is this organization so important to you?
I live in New York, so I grew up in Jamaica, Queens, and parents had purchased a hotel in the Catskills. That hotel was about 6 miles from a ski area. To get out of doing chambermaid service on the weekend, I told my mom, look, if I can go skiing, I'll work Monday to Friday really hard. So I got out there. I started actually backcountry skiing, which was really just climbing up a short hill near my house and skiing down it. The thrill, as Jessica will tell you, as Toyin will tell you, the thrill of being in the outdoors and the thrill of the adrenaline and the speed and the rush that comes along with that engagement with the outdoors, it'll make you a lifetime whatever you choose to do, whether it's snowboarding, snowshoeing, Nordic skiing, alpine skiing, it doesn't matter. That thrill just stays with you. So I did that. I honestly couldn't turn my skis for the first 2 years. I didn't know what I was doing. I would just put them on, point them down the hill, push off, go as far as I could without hitting a tree and tip over. And I'd get up, point my skis in another clear direction and do it again. So I was probably about 14 or 15, and I tried out for the high school ski team. Skiing behind all of these very privileged white kids that skied really well. And honestly, at that time, I did not realize they skied really well because they were in programs. Right. They were in classes. They were learning how to ski well. So what I would do is I'd be a few hills back watching and learning how they were skiing because I couldn't afford that.
Right.
And I would just mimic their movements and learn. So again, I try out for the ski team. I make the team. I was the last kid picked. They chose 15 kids. I was number 15. And we talk about the exclusion of this sport, of this industry. I have to say the white coach that I had, he didn't have to pick me. There were a lot of kids that tried out for that team, and he could have just said, he could have changed the numbers and said, oh, you didn't make the team. You were number 16. But he put me on the team. And I think that's the reason why I'm sitting here with you today.
Well, you mentioned something about you not being able to afford the expensive ski lessons that your white, classmates were getting. And I think, again, that's a notion that a lot of Black folks have, is that skiing, takes place at expensive ski lodges. You got to fly if you live in California. Well, I guess we have ski mountains in California, but if you live in a certain part of the country, maybe you have to get someplace, where they have skiing. You got to buy all of the equipment, and it's terribly, terribly expensive, particularly if you need lessons. So what do you say to those folks that say, this sounds wonderful, I'd love to be out in the snow, but I don't have the money to do it?
That's where all of our organizations come into play. We try to figure out ways to knock those barriers down. The high economic cost of a lift ticket. You go to Colorado, you spend $200 a day to ski. The expense of a jacket, $600 for a jacket. The equipment. I've got kids that race. Their skis are $1,000 a pair. That's just a ski without a binding. So you have organization like Jessica's and Toyin's and the National Brotherhood of Snow Sports. We try to figure out ways with our winter outreach programs to circumvent that. We try to figure out how can we get partner with some of these manufacturers, some of the ski resorts, so that they will donate lessons, they will donate equipment, they will donate tickets, and also sometimes they supplement the transportation costs.
Great. All right, Toyin, jump in this conversation. You are the founder of Outdoorsy Black Women, and I read in that article that I talked about that you wanted to create a community of women. So talk to us about how you got to Outdoorsy Black Women. One, the name, and what it is that you all do.
So just being an outdoorsy Black woman myself, I recognized that there was a bit of a void for women like me. You know what I mean? And I say that because I think if you were to go to Google and Google the term outdoors or outdoorsy, you're not seeing faces like ours. And we're out there and we're doing these things. And, if you're not seeing representation, you don't feel like you belong in those spaces. So for me, creating a community full of Black women that were doing all kinds of amazing outdoor activities, whether it's surfing and gardening and homesteading and hiking, it was important because we are doing all of those amazing things. But we just needed a space that we could find each other to connect.
Now, obviously you can meet with women inside, you could go to a nightclub, you could go to a restaurant, you could do these, could do some activities, obviously, inside someone's home. What is unique or special about gathering these groups of women and doing these activities in the outdoors?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. So, one thing I noticed for myself in particular is I am someone who battles mental health issues. And to me, the outdoors is healing. It's a healing space. Black women are going through so much and we need that healing. And we don't always recognize that if we just take some time to breathe in the outdoors and get a moment to really connect with nature, that can be a form of healing in itself. And along with the community, having a sisterhood where you can count on the women in the community and you don't have to be by yourself, it all comes together and it all is a healing space. We just had our retreat, Wine and Waterfalls. And I always tell people the thing about the outdoors, Black people are outside. We do this. Our cookouts are outside. I don't know what we are out there, but we do the outdoors our way. We do everything our own way. And so with Outdoorsy Black women, it's one of our focuses is just trying to find outdoor activities to showcase how we enjoy the outdoors. So Wine and Waterfalls is our yearly event, and it allowed for the ladies to get outside and do some wine tastings. We did paint and sip outdoors. We did yoga outside in front of a mountain. We were two-stepping, doing the electric slide outdoors, but it's just kind of a reminder that you can enjoy the outdoors as long as you find a way that works for you. And that's what Outdoorsy Black Women is about.
I love that because you're taking things that women love to do. We love to drink wine. Many of us love to dance. And doing it, like you said, in a way that's outdoors and obviously getting in touch with nature. Jessica, when I opened the show, I talked about some of the reasons that historians say Black folks may have had an aversion to outdoors. Some of it was an aversion because of what the outdoors represented. And then there were those Jim Crow laws that prevented Black folks from entering some national parks, that prevented us from being in some outdoor spaces. Looking at that history and looking at where we are today, do you think we've made a big dent in expelling the myth that somehow Black people naturally don't like the outdoors?
I do think that we are on that road to dispelling that myth. I know currently there are probably, and I know there's over 50 Black outdoor adventure companies across the United States, and I could say confidently that there's over 100. And so just knowing that number and each organization having, whether it's 5,000 members or 10,000 members, we are dispelling that. We are breaking and changing what the trajectory of what it used to look like. I could tell you here that Colorado Parks and Wildlife did not have a commissioner of color ever. The first commissioner for Colorado Parks and Wildlife was an African-American woman. She is just now leaving her term. Her name is Taisha Adams. With us being on these authorizing boards and commissions, we are able to make rules and laws and policies and advocate for us, building spaces that are supportive towards our community. And so we have to be more into policy advocacy to say, hey, this is my community and I want this to look like this. And so, yeah, I think that we are on the path to change that. And there are many others that have come before us to pave the way for us to be where we are today.
Yeah, and I know, again, that NBC article, so enlightening, Henri. You were very honest about some of the discrimination that you face, some of the names, the pejorative, names and ways that you were treated by white skiers, white folks believing that, as a Black man, you had no right, you had no place on a ski slope. So, talk to us about what that was like, overcoming those kinds of, racial stereotypes and dealing with some of what had to be, racial trauma associated with just doing something you started doing as a teenager.
We have to look back at all of our parents. My parents instilled in me, you do what you want to do. And that might not have been always advantageous, because you went into arenas that you really should not have. If you were smart, I shouldn't go in there. Go back to the Blacks not being able to go into these environments, into these parks, but they allowed us to be caretakers of these parks. They allowed us to work in these parks.
Right, but not to have leisure time in them. I want you to hold that thought for me, Henri. When we come forward, want to talk about how you individually and how some of these outdoor groups are overcoming today still some of the systemic racial barriers that may prevent Black folks from enjoying the great outdoors. Stay with us, KBLA Talk 1580.
If you're not listening to Tavis Smiley weekday mornings on KBLA Talk 1580, you're missing out. Everybody wants to talk to Tavis.
That's one reason, by the way, why I'm so thrilled to have this conversation with you today. The three people I always most hoped would interview me were Phil Donahue, Studs Terkel, and Tavis Smiley. Donahue's retired, Terkel's deceased, so this is a real thrill for me. And the reason why I have such respect for what you do is you have a historically informed conversation of depth and detail.
Be sure to tune in to Tavis Smiley weekday mornings, 9 a.m. to 12 noon on your unapologetically progressive radio station, KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. Is the pen mightier than the sword?
They say the pen is mightier than the sword. At KBLA Talk 1580, we not only have a lot to talk about, we have a lot to write about. Politics, relationships, business, empowerment, and culture. The all-star roster at KBLA Talk 1580 has you covered.
That's what it's all about.
Be sure to follow us on all our socials for our latest book releases, op-eds, essays, and commentaries from our hosts. And, of course, download the KBLA 1580 app as we strive to remain your most trusted, credible, and reliable source for the issues you care about. This is unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
What up, baby?
I'm young, gifted, and black.
KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk.
Hey there, I'm Jared Hill, president of the National Association of Black Journalists of Los Angeles, and I just want to say thank you for the benevolent $10,000 donation and scholarships for the next generation of Black journalists.
And I'm Haywood Galbraith, photojournalist and founder of the Minority Photojournalism Institute. Thanks, KBLA, for your generous $10,000 scholarship gift to help us train the next generation of Black photojournalists.
Congratulations to all the students who will benefit from the scholarship dollars raised at our Black History Month luncheon honoring Black legends in LA media. When we come forward at KBLA Talk 1580, we're bringing everybody with us. Everybody with us. Everybody with us. Everybody with us.
Connection established. Access granted.
In a survey conducted by the public opinion research firm Eviderus, KBLA Talk 1580 consistently emerged as the station of choice for Black audiences in the Los Angeles media market and beyond. The survey also revealed that the vast majority of Black audiences are concerned about the lack of Black-owned media and are more likely to listen to talk radio that focuses on issues that impact the Black community. For some reason, the other talk stations haven't quite figured that out.
If you think about KFI, well, KFI only has like a 3% Black listenership. 3%. So there's a good 97% out there to support a station like KBLA.
At KBLA Talk 1580, We've got your black. Your black. Your black.
Follow the leader.
KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram at KBLA 1580.
Follow the leader.
Are you ready?
The station leading the way with exclusive interviews,
Follow the leader.
stimulating conversation, and intellectual discourse that empowers, enlightens, and informs.
Follow the leader.
Follow the leader at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Keep following the leader. Follow 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 the leader.
Gotta stay fresh, my house shot with a rest bar, shot with a rest bar, shot with a rest bar.
Have you visited us online for the grand opening of KBLA.store? For the best in new merch, gift ideas, books, media, and more, log on to KBLA.store. Be sure to check out our KBLA team favorites at KBLA.store today. That's KBLA.store for all the official merch on your favorite talk radio station, KBLA Talk 1580.
Bounce is back.
Race, social justice, sports, politics, art, music, culture. We do it all on the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show. If you're not tuning in, then you are definitely missing out. It's the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show, weekdays from 2 to 4 only on unapologetically progressive KBLA Talk 1580.
Like a brand new flavor in your ear. Yeah.
This is a rather bold pronouncement, but we think we can back it up. If you come across a radio frequency anywhere putting more variety and more diversity on the air than KBLA Talk 1580, we sure would like to hear about your discovery.
You got to have vision.
You can search, but we are confident that you won't find more shows covering more topics, hosted by a more diverse and inclusive lineup of talkers than the squad we have assembled here at KBLA Talk 1580.
This is the time, brothers. This is the time.
We've got something for everybody.
That's right.
Health and healing, history and humor, issues and events, empowerment and entertainment, all in one station.
What's really going on?
Free enterprise, you dig?
KBLA Talk 1580.
Yes.
Oh yeah. We got a lot to talk about.
King Kong ain't got on me.
If you're not listening to Tavis Smiley weekday mornings on KBLA Talk 1580, you're missing out. Everybody wants to talk to Tavis.
That's one reason, by the way, why I'm so thrilled to have this conversation with you today. The three people I always most hoped would interview me were Phil Donahue, Studs Terkel, and Tavis Smiley. Donahue's retired, Terkel's deceased, so this is a real thrill for me. And the reason why I have such respect for what you do is you have a historically informed conversation of depth and detail.
Be sure to tune in to Tavis Smiley weekday morning.
We are back, and we're talking with Black outdoors enthusiasts today. And we know that for many Black folks, they have a complicated relationship with the outdoors. Black people commonly saw for white-only signs in national parks, particularly during the Jim Crow era. And even after our national parks were officially desegregated in the 1940s, several parks resisted these changes and still had Negro-only or Negro area signs that basically barred Black people from enjoying the full experience of our parks. And even as recently as 2018, Black people made up just about 6% of visitors to our country's 424 national parks. And we know also there were attitudes of many whites that the cities were dirty, filled with people of color and immigrants, while the natural spaces were clean and best suited for white folks. And Black folks weren't really welcomed into these spaces. Talking with Henri Rivers, he is the president of an organization that focuses on getting Black folks out into the snow. And Henri, you were telling us about some of the pejorative terms and some of the racism and discrimination you faced as you obviously traveled to different ski locations. Talk about what that was like.
Most of the negative comments that I received were when I was a child. Comments when you get into the corral, into the lift line, what are they doing here? Or, Jungle Bunny, Jigaboo, all sorts of things. When you get out into the outdoor space, the space is so inviting to you, you don't have to interact with them. I mean, when I'm coming down a trail, I am coming down the trail, so I don't even care about them, even some of them. And you know what else gets you is that you look at their skiing proficiency and you're like, wow, so that's that could even be classified as a microaggression in a sense, because you're like, wow, it intimidates you. Within our organization, though, within the National Brotherhood of Snow Sports, we have so many accomplished skiers, that's not even an issue. Go ahead.
No, finish your thought.
I'm trying to figure out how to best say it, but the discrimination that you feel out there, we're overcoming that if we do that internally. Just like they have to do it internally, we have to do it internally. Jessica mentioned Tashia Adams when she's out of term. If we don't have someone to advocate for us, we got to advocate from within. If we do it within our own groups, we can get it out there, and we appreciate all that will help advocate for us. But remember, we got to do it too.
Absolutely. We got to be our own best advocates, and we have the ability to do that, which is why I'm so excited to, know that Jessica and Henry, you guys are working together, and Toya and Jessica, you ladies are working together. Toya, I know during COVID, a lot of people expressed, feelings of isolation and loneliness, a lot of depression and anxiety. How can joining one of the groups, like your group, Outdoorsy Black Women, or, Vibe Tribe Adventures, or Henry's group, National Brotherhood of Snow Sports, how can being a part of one of these groups help with, folks' feeling of isolation, and even maybe folks who are facing mental health challenges?
I'm really glad you asked that. So right now, with Outdoorsy Black Women, we have over 7,000 members, and our community was just founded in 2021. So we've been growing quite rapidly, and that lets you know that there are Black women seeking each other. They want that community. They need that space. These women may not have felt seen before, and so finding other Black women like them in a space where they can feel comfortable, come together, know that when we go into outdoor spaces as a group, they can do it safely, because those are some of the things that we've had to think about as an organization. I think sometimes we don't always talk about the logistics of running Black groups. We have to think about safety from a different perspective of other groups out there. We can't post our locations ahead of time, especially as Black women. And our members are so thankful that we take those extra steps. In terms of mental health, we actually just launched a coloring book, because again, for me, I know that art therapy is important, as well as spending time in the outdoors, and the Outdoorsy Black Women coloring book gave the opportunity for us to see ourselves represented in these pages and to use art therapy. For me, I noticed that I never really saw like us in coloring books skydiving or skiing or, in a vineyard. And, so I wanted to make sure that we could bring that to out to our audience, and it is available on Amazon for anybody who is interested in that. I think in terms of safety, I just kind of wanted to touch on what Henry talked about a little bit. As Black women, we have dealt with microaggressions in some of our hikes. We have chapters in 15 states at this point, and I am in the South, and we've had situations where people are still not always as welcoming. And so when I first started Outdoorsy Black Women, you had people telling you, why do you need a space like this? So I am so thankful that, one, we are the people who are stepping out. As Henry said, he was told just to do whatever he wanted to do. And you have to be that type of person that wants to step out and kind of be the one who's going to take that first step. Because if it's not for those trailblazers, if you will, those that came before me, Jessica, Henry, we wouldn't have this space. And this movement is growing, but the work has to be done within our communities, and it also has to be done with allies too, whether that is in terms of policy, even working with outdoor companies and not being shuffled into DEI markets, because at the end of the day, those budgets are getting cut, and those budgets are those divisions are getting cut, as we've seen right now. So it's making our work a little bit harder. So the work has to come from within our communities, but it also has to come from our allies too.
A really good point. And Jessica, I'm really thinking about how African Americans are highlighted in so many sports fields. Think about basketball and the super popular basketball players that everybody knows because they become icons in our community. Football players, to a certain extent, the Serena and Venus Williams, how they transformed the sport of tennis. But some of the things that Toyin mentioned in her coloring book, like skydiving and other things, and for many years, maybe even golf, before Tiger Woods became a big golf sensation, that there are these sports that Black folks were allowed to do and were expected to excel in. And then there was this whole other arena of sports, outdoors and some indoors, where they were, quote unquote, for white folks. And maybe even you would be made fun of in your own Black community if you played. I'm thinking of myself. I learned to play squash, which is a cross between like racquetball and tennis when I went to college. And when I would tell people that I played squash, they would make fun of me. Like, oh, you play squash. It would be these jokes about playing squash. But, how do we break down those systemic barriers and those myths about what it is we can be allowed to do and not allowed to do? Because obviously I can play squash. Henri can ski. Toyin maybe is skydiving. We could do whatever we put our minds to do, whatever we train to do, whatever we practice to do. But still, I think so many of us think, if it's basketball, cool, I can do it. But if it doesn't fit that kind of, predefined category, then Black folks shouldn't do it. Think about that. When we come forward, I want to get your response on how we break down some of these barriers to get Black folks involved in every sport. Stay with us, KBLA Talk 1580.
Access granted.
In a survey conducted by the public opinion research firm Eviderus, KBLA Talk 1580 consistently emerged as the station of choice for Black audiences in the Los Angeles media market and beyond. The survey also revealed that the vast majority of Black audiences are concerned about the lack of Black-owned media and are more likely to listen to talk radio that focuses on issues that impact the Black community. For some reason, the other talk stations haven't quite figured that out.
If you think about KFI, well, KFI only has like a 3% Black listenership. 3%. So there's a good 97% out there to support a station like KBLA.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your Black. Your Black. Your Black.
Follow the leader.
KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram at KBLA 1580.
Follow the leader.
Are you ready?
The station leading the way with exclusive interviews,
Follow the leader.
stimulating conversation, and intellectual discourse that empowers, enlightens, and informs.
Follow the leader.
Follow the leader at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Keep following the leader.
Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
Gotta stay fresh, my house shot with a rest spot. Shot with a rest spot. Shot with a rest spot.
Have you visited us online for the grand opening of KBLA.store? For the best in new merch, gift ideas, books, media, and more, log on to KBLA.store. Be sure to check out our KBLA team favorites at KBLA.store today. That's KBLA.store for all the official merch on your favorite talk radio station, KBLA Talk 1580.
Bounce is back.
Here comes the brand new flavor in your head.
Race, social justice, sports, politics, art, music, culture. We do it all on the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show. If you're not tuning in, then you are definitely missing out. It's the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show, weekdays from 2 to 4 only on unapologetically progressive KBLA Talk 1580.
Like a brand new flavor in your head. Yeah.
This This is a rather bold pronouncement, but we think we can back it up. If you come across a radio frequency anywhere putting more variety and more diversity on the air than KBLA Talk 1580, we sure would like to hear about your discovery.
You got to have vision.
You can search, but we are confident that you won't find more shows covering more topics, hosted by a more diverse and inclusive lineup of talkers than the squad we have assembled here at KBLA.
Areva Martin in real time, and I'm your host, Areva Martin. And today we are talking about Black folks and the great outdoors and how we can reclaim our rightful place in natural spaces. I'm joined by Jessica Newton. She's the executive director and founder of Vibe Tribe Adventures, Henri Rivers, president, National Brotherhood of Snow Sports, and Toyin Ajay. She's the founder of Outdoorsy Black Women. She also has a new coloring book that's on Amazon. So make sure you go to Amazon and check out her new coloring book. But Jessica, help us, give us some tips on what we can do to help break down these stereotypes about what activities, sports, and outdoor activities that Black folks are, quote unquote, made for, fit for, allowed to do, and those that we are not.
Yeah, so I guess the number one thing would be to join Vibe Tribe Adventures, right? Become a member. Become a member. Go to our website, join our organization, become a member of National Brothers of Snow Sports, become a member of Outdoorsy Black Women. These organizations were created so that we could have a platform, a voice to one another, right? And so Vibe Tribe Adventures, we actually offer sponsorship for athletes. We sponsored a young man who climbed all 58 14,000 peaks here in Colorado. We helped him provide lodging, gas, car rental, food, training. We paid for all of his backcountry avalanche sports training. And so if people really want to excel in this, you definitely can. I do know that Henri, his organization also sponsors athletes as well to go towards the Olympics. And so it is possible. I think asking the right questions. I think also as a leader in the outdoors, it's important to recognize if we have youth or adults in our program and they're consistently asking, how can I increase my skills? You literally need to sit down with them and say, hey, what are your goals in this? And so we work with high school students who actually want to have their own adventure companies. And so we support them. We provide training for them. We pay for their first aid wilderness courses. We pay for their certifications, if they want to be a bike tech. And so these are just different things that all of our organizations are actually doing currently to support broadening our views to this. We need to show up, take pictures, post, and be engaged with the community so that they know that we're here. We just had an event this weekend. It's called our annual Beach Day. We had 400 people show up to our lake, all Black and brown people. We provided food for them. We provided paddleboarding lessons. We provided free paddleboard rentals, life jackets, kayaks, and canoes, because it's important that we get rid of the disparities of saying, hey, I don't have enough money to even take part in this. And then also our fear of water. And so it's just important that we create these communities and reach out and be engaged with one another. So if I'm engaging with y'all better engage with me.
No, great points. Thank you for letting people know that they can join the organizations, three that are represented, that you guys represent. And Henri, for those folks who are, again, Jessica mentioned our fear of water. And again, Black folks, remember, we weren't allowed to go to some of the city and county and parks where they had swimming pools. So if we didn't have a swimming pool in our backyard, many Black folks didn't learn how to swim, and they couldn't go to the local parks because there were, no Blacks allowed signs for years. And Henri, I would imagine some of those snow and those lodges, those ski lodges that you ski at today, perhaps would not have been friendly or open to having Black skiers, some maybe even just, 30, 40 years ago. What do you say to someone who wants to get outdoors, wants to connect with the great outdoors, but has some, inhibition, whether it's money, whether it's skill level, but something is holding them back?
I just have to reiterate what Jessica stated, and that is to reach out to these type of Black organizations that can assist you. our mission within the National Brotherhood of Snow Sports is to identify, develop, and support athletes of color that are going to win Olympic and international competitions for the United States, and to increase participation in winter sports. I say this because, and also we are a 100% volunteer organization. We are a nonprofit organization. So if you feel this is a cause that you really want to get behind and help some young children learn the sport, whether it's skiing, snowboarding, mogul competition, free skiing, donate to our cause, and we'll put that money to great use. We have 23 athletes that we sponsored last year that are all trying to increase their abilities and become elite athletes in their particular disciplines. What?
Henry, does your group, is there any room for beginners? If folks just want to have some fun, let me ask you about black ski. I hear a lot about black ski. Do you guys have anything to do with black ski?
Black ski is one of our great clubs. They're out of Washington, D.C. They're a large club, 600 plus members. Yes, we want new skiers. All right. And understand where I was going with the other piece is that the snow sports industry will recognize achievement or will recognize accomplishment and winning if they see medals. All right. So I've been working with the U.S. ski and snowboard team, trying to get them to understand that at the last Olympics, we won 1 alpine medal. Okay.
You mean meaning the U.S.?
U.S., the United States, America. We won 1 medal. Okay. At alpine that is. That's how they tabulate. That's how they figure out if they're successful or not. So 1 medal meant they were unsuccessful. But what are we going to do? As America, we go back to that same pool of athletic talent that we always go to. And that pool is a white, privileged, wealthy athlete. Okay? You look at what Erin Jackson was able to accomplish. She was an inline skater. She became a speed skater. Boom, gold medal. 6 years. In 6 years. I mean, it's incredible. So we need to have them understand, if we increase that talent pool, that sport base, your options, America, is that you can win more medals. If we can show them how they can win more medals, then they can understand, okay, maybe we should let some of our underrepresented communities in and get them into our talent base and into our athletic pool. And the only way to increase that athletic pool is to bring in new skiers.
Right.
So that's where our focus is. We do focus on winter outreach, bringing in youth, but we also focus on helping our upper level elite athletes get to that higher status.
Right. So I'll ask you, Torian, if I'm in a state or a city where you don't have a chapter, what do I do?
Great question. We still have groups, and the community itself has ways for members to connect with each other. So every state has its own chapter group, so you can still connect with women within your state, even though we don't have an ambassador for that state. And we do encourage the ladies to connect with each other, go on hikes together, do other activities together. I did want to touch on something that Jessica said about taking pictures and making sure you put those things out there. Representation is key for everything that all of our groups are doing. When I talk to people about going skydiving, because I do love to skydive, I always make sure I get videos when I do it. 1, to show people I survived, and 2, to let them know that, if I can do it, you can do it too. And whether it is skiing, it is hiking.
Let me ask you this, Tori. How did you get your nerves up to skydive? What did that take to get you there? Because, I'm a little afraid of that. I'm nervous about that. How did you get there?
I'm going to be honest. I feel like I'm a G. I'm just going to say that because I was not nervous anytime I've skydived. I've done it in 3 different states. My highest jump was in Colorado. That was 18,500 feet. Wow. And so to be honest with you, I've had members come with me. And as I said, if we can see ourselves doing it, we've had every single reason to not be in the outdoors. As you said, we've had our obstacles. And I always try to let people know that part of getting us out there is having those conversations and breaking down those stigmas. So it's representation. It is talking to each other and saying, hey, I get it. I know why you may have been afraid to go outdoors and be outside, but you know what? You can do this with your sisters. You can do this with your brothers, and we can do this together. And again, it is changing policy and coming together, and every single one of our organizations doing our part. That's what I love about the Black outdoor community. There are so many people doing the work right now, whether it is Vibe Tribe Adventures or Henri's community, Outdoorsy Black Women. And, you know, we're all coming together, and we all recognize that if we don't come together and do this, there's a lot at stake. And one of the reasons why Outdoorsy Black Women is so important is because at the end of the day, if our mothers don't have the tools and the confidence to be outdoors, they can't be confident with their children to be outdoors too. So it starts sometimes from the top, and we got to get people from the bottom and meet in the middle.
Well said. So, Toy, and I love what you did. Congratulations. You know, starting a new organization in the midst of COVID and growing it as rapidly as you have grown it is incredible. So kudos to you, Henri. I'm glad your parents bought that hotel so that you could learn to ski as a teenager, and that you are continuing that love and sharing it with others. And Jessica, you are just doing the damn thing. Congratulations on Vibe Tribe Adventures. What an amazing organization. I know my listeners didn't know about all of you guys, so I'm feeling damn good too that I introduced them to you. Again, it's Jessica Newton, Henri Rivers, and Toyin Ajay. And the next voice that you hear will be Robin Ayers and the Raw Report right here on KBLA Talk 1580. Stay with us. Thanks so much to all of my guests. Follow me on all social platforms at Areva Martin.
I'm young, gifted, and black. At KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk.
Hey there, I'm Jared Hill, president of the National Association of Black Journalists of Los Angeles, and I